Everything in your life right now is the result of the way you have been thinking, whether you realize it or not. Your results are not random, and they are not caused by luck, people, or circumstances. They are caused by the thoughts you repeatedly accept as true. Thought is the starting point of every action, and action is the starting point of every result. If you want 2026 to look different, feel different, and pay you differently, then the first place change must happen is not on the outside, but on the inside. Most people try to change their life by changing their environment. They change jobs, cities, routines, or people, yet end up with the same frustrations because they carry the same thinking into a new place. Wherever you go, your mind goes with you. That is why a new year alone does nothing. A new calendar cannot override an old mindset. If the thinking remains the same, the results must remain the same. Because life always follows the blueprint of the mind. You don't act based on what you want. You act based on what you believe. If you believe you are limited, you will hesitate. If you believe success is difficult, you will delay. If you believe you are not good enough, you will unconsciously sabotage opportunities. These beliefs operate quietly, often without permission, shaping your behavior day after day. And the most dangerous part is that you start calling these beliefs reality, when in fact they are nothing more than conditioned thoughts. From the moment you wake up, your thinking is either moving you forward or keeping you stuck. The words you use internally, the pictures you hold in your mind, the expectations you carry into the day, all of it is programming your nervous system. Your body follows your mind. Your habits follow your self-image. And your self-image is nothing more than a collection of thoughts you have accepted over time. If you see yourself as someone who struggles, you will struggle. If you see yourself as someone who finishes what they start, you will persist even when it's uncomfortable. The outer world cannot outperform the inner world. That's why two people can be given the same opportunity, and one rises while the other stays the same. The difference is not intelligence, talent, or background. The difference is thinking. In 2026, the real work is not grinding harder without direction. The real work is becoming aware of what you are repeatedly telling yourself. Every time you say, "This is just how I am," you are reinforcing a limit. Every time you say it's too late, you are giving your past authority over your future. Every time you say, "I can't," your mind immediately looks for proof to make that statement true. But the mind can be re-educated. Thoughts can be replaced. Old mental patterns can be broken. The moment you deliberately choose a new way of thinking, you interrupt the cycle. When you begin to think in terms of growth instead of limitation, possibility instead of fear, action instead of excuses, your behavior starts to shift naturally. You don't force discipline. You become disciplined. You don't chase confidence. You express it. This is why repetition is so powerful. Whatever you think about most becomes familiar, and whatever becomes familiar starts to feel normal. When higher standards of thinking become normal, higher results follow automatically. That's not motivation, that's alignment. You stop fighting yourself because your thoughts and actions are moving in the same direction. Your income, your relationships, your energy, your productivity, all of it rises and falls with your dominant thinking. Change the dominant thought and you change the direction of your life. This is not instant, but it is inevitable. Just like planting a seed, you don't dig it up every day to check if it's growing. You stay consistent, trusting the process, knowing the result must come. In 2026, if you commit to thinking differently even when nothing around you has changed yet, you place yourself on a new path. The moment you refuse to identify with old limitations, you weaken them. The moment you start thinking in harmony with the person you want to become, your actions begin to reorganize themselves. Your habits begin to shift, and your results begin to move in a new direction, because life has no choice but to reflect the level of thinking you consistently operate from. Every outcome in your life can be traced back to a decision, whether it was made consciously or unconsciously. Where you are today is not an accident, and it is not the result of chance. It is the result of choices you have been making day after day, often in small and unnoticed ways. Decisions are powerful because the moment you decide, you set a direction. Circumstances may influence you, but they never control you unless you allow them to. Most people believe their circumstances decide their future. They wait for the right conditions, the right time, the right support, or the right confidence before they move. But life doesn't reward waiting. It responds to decision. When you decide, your mind immediately begins to organize resources. ideas and opportunities around that decision. Without a decision, the mind stays scattered, reacting instead of creating. A decision is more than a preference or a wish. It is a commitment that removes alternatives. When you truly decide, you stop debating internally. You stop asking, should I, and start asking, how do I? This shift alone separates those who move forward from those who remain stuck. People who change their lives are not necessarily smarter or more talented. They are simply more decisive. Indecision keeps you in the same place while giving you the illusion of safety. It feels comfortable because it avoids risk, but it quietly steals your future. Every time you delay a decision, you are still deciding to stay the same. The longer you stay in that space, the more familiar it becomes, and familiarity eventually feels like truth. That's how potential slowly turns into regret. Circumstances are always changing. They rise and fall, improve and worsen. If your progress depends on circumstances, your life will always be unstable. But when your progress depends on decision, you remain in control regardless of external conditions. You may not control what happens to you, but you always control how you respond and what direction you choose next. In 2026, the most important decisions you make will not be dramatic ones. They will be quiet daily decisions. The decision to show up when no one is watching. The decision to act even when fear is present. The decision to stay consistent when results are delayed. These choices compound over time, shaping your character and ultimately your destiny. In 2026, the most important decisions you make will not be dramatic ones. They will be quiet daily decisions. The decision to show up when no one is watching. The decision to act even when fear is present. The decision to stay consistent when results are delayed. These choices compound over time, shaping your character and ultimately your destiny. Fear often appears when a decision is required, not because you are weak, but because you are standing at the edge of growth. Fear is simply uncertainty demanding leadership. When you refuse to decide because of fear, fear stays in control. When you decide in spite of fear, confidence begins to grow. Confidence is not the absence of fear. It is the result of choosing action anyway. Once a decision is made, life starts to test it. Obstacles appear not to stop you, but to strengthen your commitment. Many people interpret resistance as a sign they should quit, when in reality, it is proof they are moving in the right direction. Every meaningful decision will be challenged. The difference is whether you let those challenges weaken your resolve or refine it. Your destiny is not shaped by one big moment, but by a series of aligned decisions made over time. Each decision either moves you closer to the person you want to become or pulls you back toward the person you are trying to leave behind. You don't drift into a better life. You decide into it. The moment you stop blaming circumstances, you reclaim your power. Blame keeps you stuck in the past. Decision pulls you into the future. When you accept full responsibility for your direction, everything changes. You stop waiting for permission, approval, or perfect timing. You become the cause rather than the effect. In 2026, choose to decide with clarity. Decide what you will no longer tolerate. Decide the standard you will live by. Decide the actions you will take regardless of mood or conditions. When decisions are aligned with purpose and repeated consistently, they transform into habits, and habits shape identity. Because destiny is not something you find. It is something you build through the decisions you are willing to make and stand by every single day.